The enemy of my enemy is my friend? You've heard that statement before, haven't you? Somewhere along the line in your life, you have heard the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Meaning that someone who is your known enemy, so long as you both have in common a hatred of one individual group or one individual king or one individual whatever, you and this enemy hate each other, but you have in common that you hate who's he, what's it, so whatever, right? Right? You have that in common. So, beg your pardon, my computer is giving me a hassle at the moment. Okay. But you've heard that before. That bitter enemies can join sides and boom, go after their common enemy. You've heard that before. Get your King James Bible. This is quite impromptu, but I'm just going to put this out there for you guys to chew on and to roll around in your head a little bit. This isn't me. Go to 2 Kings chapter 3. Okay? Get your King James Bible, the real Bible, and go in your King James Bible to 2 Kings chapter 3. Go there. We're going to be in the Old Testament, but I want you to see something. And I want you to consider this, about this mentality that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's look at this. 2 Kings chapter 3. We are going to begin at verse 1, and we are going to read virtually the whole chapter. Virtually the whole chapter, save 2 verses. Go there. Beginning at verse 1. Now Jeroboam, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he wrought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father, and like his mother, for he put away the image of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he claved unto the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom. And Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep master. Moab is a descendant of Lot. Moab is the offspring of the incestuous relation that Lot had with his daughters. That and the Ammonites. Okay? Keep that in mind. You can check that in Genesis. Okay? But let's continue. Reading verse 4 again. And Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep master, and rendered unto the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams with the wool. But it came to pass when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And King Joram went out of Samaria the same time, and numbered all Israel. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? Now here is the response of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat was a good king. He made some mess ups, okay? He as far as making ships and having affinity with those whom he shouldn't have, people who hated the Lord Okay? Jehoshaphat had some big mess ups. He joined affinity with people he should never have joined affinity with. Affinity, got together with. Okay? That's what that means. Okay? But overall, Jehoshaphat was a good king, according to scripture, even though he had these things, okay? Because he had the right heart for the Lord, okay? Keep that in mind as we're reading. But here is what Jehoshaphat had to say. Let's read 7 again. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, this is Jehoshaphat speaking, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. Okay? Jehoshaphat knew that the brethren in Samaria were his own people. Okay? There were two different kingdoms. There was the Israel and their collective body of a kingdom, and then you had Judah, which also, I believe, had Benjamin that was yoked up with them in their kingdom, okay? But Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, was like, I'll help you. You are my brethren, okay? So let's continue. Verse 8. And he said, which way shall we go up? And he answered, through the way of the wilderness of Edom. Edom. Who is Edom? Esau, the brother of Jacob. Okay? And as many of you know, God loved Jacob, but he hated Esau. Okay? You do a word search on the King James Bible online here, which and I have the link for the King James Bible online on my channel, and put hated Esau. I believe it appears twice. Okay? God hated Esau. He didn't hate Esau's sin. He hated Esau. Yes, God hates some people who hate him. Okay? Let's continue. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom. Hinge about the king of Edom. Okay? Hinge that. Okay? Hinge about the king of Edom. Okay? Reading verse 9 again. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they fetched a compass 7 days' journey, beg your pardon, and there was no water for the host, and for the cattle that followed them. And the king of Israel said, Alas, that the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, Here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, The word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom, went down to him. Are you looking at verse 13? Check this out. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with thee, the king of Israel? Okay, not Jehoshaphat. Okay? Jehoshaphat was the king of Judah. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father and the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. And Elisha said, As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regarded the presence of Jehoshaphat the king of Judah, I would not look toward thee nor see thee. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass that when the minstrel played, the hand of the Lord came upon him. Now, hold your place here. I want to bring something to your attention about Edom, okay? The king of Edom, okay? Esau, okay? Jacob's brother, okay? Esau wanted to kill Jacob because Jacob supplanted him and stole his blessing that was rightfully Esau's. But see, Esau forfeited that over a bowl of soup. Okay? That's why God hated Esau. Esau saw his birthright, meaning no more to him than a full belly. Okay? So Esau forfeited, sold his birthright onto Jacob. Okay? That's the backstory. You can look that up on your own time. But I want to show you something about Esau. Now, go to Numbers chapter 20. Go to Numbers chapter 20. Okay? This is going to play into what I want you to think about. Okay? Numbers chapter 20, verses 14 on to verse 22. Go there. Keep your hand there in Numbers, in 2 Kings. Keep your hand there. Go to Numbers chapter 20. Okay? Go there. We're going to be reading verses 14 on to verse 22. Check this out. You can read the backstory, the context on your own time. Okay? Right before all of this is the water out of the rock. Okay? And where Moses hits the rock instead of speaking onto it, a totally different video, but that's the backstory to where we get to here. Okay? So, let's read. And Moses, verses 14 on to verse 22. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, Thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt. And we have dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed at us, and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice, and sent an angel, and hath brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the utmost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand or to the left until we have passed thy borders. Fair enough, right? But are you looking at that? Let's keep reading. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, and if I and my cattle drink of thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people, and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. And the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came unto Mount Hor. Go back to 2 Kings now. You might be saying, Brad, why? Okay, that's good and interesting. Why did we look at that? Okay. We see here, thus far, what we've read in 2 Kings. We see that Edom and Israel are yoked up together to fight against the descendant of Lot, Moab. And earlier, we just saw it, Edom refused passage for Israel to go through their land. And God even said that, don't mess with them. Okay, I've given this for their inheritance. That kind of stuff. That's also in the Torah, the earlier books of the Torah, okay? But we saw that Edom is like, no, stay out of here. You come by us, we're going to cut you. But yet we see here that Israel and Edom, enemies, more or less, have come together to fight against a common enemy. I'm not saying. I'm just saying, let's continue now. Okay, we stopped at verse 15 in 2 Kings chapter 3. Let's continue from verses 16 on to verse 25. We're not going to read 26 and 27 about how the king of Moab killed his own kid. We're not going to read about that, okay? But we're going to read now from 16 on to verse 25, okay? Let's read. Now this is Elisha speaking. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. For thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water, that ye may drink, both ye and your cattle and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into your hand. And ye shall smite every fenced city, and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. And it came to pass in the morning, when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. And when all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, they gathered all that were able to put on armor, and upward, and stood in the border. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the other side as red as blood. And they said, This is blood. The kings are surely slain. And they have smitten one another. Now therefore, Moab to the spoil. Verse 23 is significant, because look what it says, and they have smitten one another. See, even the children of Moab knew that the king of Israel, the king of Judah, and the king of Moab, all these three kings joining together, who don't really have a good history with one another. Now, in the time of Jacob's trouble, the Jews are going to go through a horrific, something that's going to make the Holocaust look like nothing. Okay, yes, okay. So eventually, all Israel will be one, yes, but in this time, okay, they were not one. There was the one kingdom of Israel, and there was the other kingdom of Judah, okay, and Edom, okay, and during this time, especially, these three kingdoms could only get along for a little while, at the best, when it suited each other's purposes. And Jehoshaphat was an overall good king. I mean, the scriptures tell us that. Okay, but what's significant is here. Where was it? Verse 23. Beg your pardon. And they have smitten one another. Moab knew this. And Elisha, in verse 14, look up at verse 14. And Elisha, as the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regarded the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look toward thee nor see thee. Okay? So you see here Elisha and even Moab acknowledging that these three bedfellows, the enemy of their enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's continue. Let's finish this. Okay? Verse 24. And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them. But they went forward, smiting the Moabites, even in their country. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land cast every man his stone, and filled it. And they stopped all the wells of water, and felled all the good trees. They were overdoing it. Only in Kir-Hareseth left they the stones thereof, howbeit the slingers went about and smote it. Now Now look at verse 19. Look back up at verse 19. And ye shall smite every fenced city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. They did that. But when you see in verse 25, they were following that. They were overdoing it. How do you know that? Howbeit the slingers went about it and smote the city. Look at verse 19. And ye shall smite every fenced city, and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. And they did that. That is why verse 26 and 27 come into play with 25, which we're not going to read. But the point is, we see three kings who were known to be enemies by Elisha and the Moabites joining together to fight against the Moabites. You see right here, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? Might be thinking like, okay, Brad, what's your point? Go to the book of Obadiah. Obadiah in the Minor Prophets, okay? Obadiah. Obadiah is just one chapter, one book, okay? If you don't know where Obadiah is after Amos, right before Jonah. Go to Obadiah. Go there. Obadiah. Go to Obadiah. We're going to read this whole book. Can you handle it? Now, we saw in Numbers how Edom would not let Israel go through their land. And they came out and threatened them, if you try to do that, we're going to cut you. And then we just saw in 2 Kings chapter 3 how that three kings that were basically enemies joined together to go against the children of Lot, Moab. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? Now let's read Obadiah. Beginning at verse 1 on to verse 21. We're going to read this whole book. Okay? Let's go. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. Now very quickly, chronologically, they say that Obadiah was around the time of Athaliah. Okay, and in the time before Joash and stuff. The point? After what we have already seen in 2 Kings chapter 3. Obadiah comes after that. Not before, not during. Obadiah comes after that. Now keep in mind that Edom had joined himself with Israel and Judah. Okay? We saw that. Keep that in mind. Hinge that. Remember I told you to hinge that about the king of Edom who fought alongside his brother Jacob. But yet we also saw in Numbers how he wouldn't let his brother Jacob go through his own land. But yet he joined with him to fight against the children of Lot, Moab, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, beg your pardon. The vision of Obadiah. Beg your pardon. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. You watching me? Pay attention. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. And prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Yeah. Shall I not, in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Are you looking at that verse? Verse 10? Remember, this Obadiah is accepted, and I also believe this myself. This is after Jehoshaphat, after Elisha, okay? Long after, okay? After that Edom had helped out his brother Jacob, Israel, and Judah. This is afterward. They were buddies. They helped one another out. Why? Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? Look at verse 10. Let's continue reading. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off. Are you looking at that? Forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. Even thou wast as one of them. Esau, Edom, who helped his brother Jacob with Jehoshaphat. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Right? In the day, reading verse 11 again, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? You've heard that? Okay? The enemies joined together to go after a common enemy. But look at how, in the future, the people who stood beside Jacob, his own brother, treated him. Let's continue. Verse 12. Ooh, I like this verse. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. They were happy that Israel was being decimated by Nebuchadnezzar and by many other enemies because they had disobeyed the Lord. They had backslidden. See, let's continue. Thou shouldest, verse 13, thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, huh? My brother. Entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity, when they were weak and getting beaten up. Shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity. Just watched it. Because what does it say? Where was that? But thou shouldest not, in verse 12, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Look at back at verse 11. Even thou wast as one of them in the day that thou stoodest on the other side. But they're brothers. Let's continue. Verse 14, neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape, neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. Verse 15, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion, now here's future blessing. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of his host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even on the Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. I showed you how Edom helped out Israel. But yet we have a whole book dedicated to the downfall of the brother of Jacob, Esau, Edom. Okay? And you read in the book of Revelation how Edom will escape out of the hand of Mystery Babylon. Okay? You see that. We're not going to get into that. But the point is, as we saw in 2 Kings chapter 3, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Would you be able to say the enemy of my enemy is my friend while looking at Obadiah about how Edom, basically just stood there and was happy that Israel was being decimated? Hey, you watching me? The enemy of your enemy is not your friend. You have an example right here in Scripture of what could happen to you if you go to the enemy of your enemy and think they're your friends. You obviously haven't been through enough. You haven't, obviously, personally, I felt the sting of somebody who you thought was your friend because you had a common enemy, only to find out that that person who you thought was a friend because you had a common enemy turned out to be your actual enemy and was worse to you than the enemy that you both had in common. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend. I just wanted to, no, I didn't want to do this. I was supposed to give this to you. So, I have no idea what you're going to get out of this. I have no idea. I know what this is going to be called, but this is what it is. Take from it what you will. Okay? Apparently, my next video, whenever it may be, I don't know. That's not up to me. Apparently, my next video is supposed to be about the Holocaust. When? I don't know. But that's something that I'm kind of being like, hey, Brad. It's like, oh. And anyway, enough of that. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a good night. I don't know. There you go. Okay. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you in the next video, whenever or whatever it's going to be. Okay? I love you. Bye.